Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I am providing my book review of the Saga and the Seven Sons' fifth book of Fire and Night by Kevin J. Anderson. As I mentioned, this is the fifth book of the series. The first four books I have reviewed and talked about on the channel. You can see the reviews below. I have read the book Hidden Empire, which I gave, I think, a 7 out of 10. A Forest of Stars, which I gave like an 8 out of 10. Horizon Storms, which I gave like a 8.5. And Scattered Suns, which I gave like an 8.7. So up until this point, there has been an upward trajectory on the rating. I thought that each book has gotten better and better and better. And this book is no different. By far, it is the best and finally pays off the promises of the first four books. So to begin with, the basic premise of this series was that we were going to see an epic Hydrogue war. That was what's pitched, and the first four books really aren't that. The Hydrogue War is present in those books, but it never really comes to a head. You're always seeing minor aspects of the plot. A little battle here, a little battle here. You're not seeing the epic showdown. And you figure it's going to come later, but other things. There's a civil war breaking out. There is a conflict between the Hansa, the humans, and the Romer humans. There's also conflicts between the Ildirans peoples and their empire, a civil war. So there's a lot of minor conflicts happening, and then but they're all nothing compared to the major conflict of the Hydrogues. And finally, everything comes to a head in this book. This is the epic climax book that we were promised, and we still get two more books after this, which means there's still a lot more to come. But this book does pay off the first four books in a lot of ways, and I'm super happy about it. Some of the plot lines that stand out to me, I've always been a big fan of the King Peter, Queen Astara, and Basil Wenceslas plot line. That plot line was superb in this book, and I think that they had the most page time between them of all the books together. Like, this is a lot of page time. And partially that is because a lot of the minor plot lines are either trimmed out completely or have like one or maybe two chapters throughout the whole book. But a lot of the extra plot lines were trimmed down so that this book could focus on a few important plot lines. And it worked so well because these plot lines had plenty of time to breathe, had plenty of time for character development, for plot development, and then also just so you could invest yourself. You didn't feel like you were thrown about too much. Yes, you were thrown around a lot in this book, but you kept coming back to your favorite characters. Likewise, so that plotline really came to a head, finally had some significant development, and I'm glad he didn't just leave it on a cliffhanger. There was an opportunity here that this book could have been shorter. He could have cut out the very end of their plotline, and it would have been more of a cliffhanger. But because he made it less of a cliffhanger, it sets up the next book better, I think, and gives this book a lot more closure. So I really liked that. On the flip side, you have the Ildiran Empire, which they've just finished their civil war. Mage Imperator Jorah has finally taken over, and I really liked his plotline because he's having to deal with Osira. Osira is having to deal with Nira, and you have the Dobro designate Urdu, and then you also have the next in line. I'm forgetting what his term is, Darrow, and then you also have the leader Adar Zan. All of them had superb. This is the most fun I've had. I thought that they were all great in Scattered Suns when the Ildiran Empire really shined, but this book was when they really shined the most. And I think the reason is because Nira. Nira is prominent in this book. She finally has a major plot line, and she's been essentially missing since book one. You know, she was present in all the other books, but maybe a chapter or two here or there, not really much. She is a major character in this book, and it is super exciting. Also, I really like the dynamic between Jorah and all of his leaders that are working with him. He has a much more fleshed out dynamic than some of the other leaders. Like, I feel like the Roamers aren't quite as strong because you don't understand the power dynamics, but I understand the power dynamics of the Ildirans really well. So I really liked that. Also, there is a surprise plot line that I did not expect to like, and that is the plot line of Patrick Fitzpatrick in this book. I thought that he was wonderful in this book. I absolutely was annoyed by him in the first 4 books. And I think he's really only in like the last 2, but he was so annoying in the previous books. But he takes a prominent step forward in his character growth in this book, and I really liked him. And I found myself saying, give me more of that. I'm actually liking more of that. So Kevin was doing a very good job, not only balancing everything, but making me want more of the right things, and not saying, I don't need more of that. Jess Tamblyn and Seska Peroni finally have some epic things happen in their relationship and in their story that I really liked. They move forward quite a lot, as do the Romer plotline is overall sidelined, but it's still central and important. Same with Thurrock. Thurrock had a much more important prominence in the first 2 books, but Thurrock is pushed to the side, but it is present. And then everything comes together when the Hydrogues finally launch their big attack on Earth. And you know it's coming the whole book. You know it has to happen. And you don't know how it's going to go down. You don't know who's going to live, who's going to die, how it's all going to happen. I would criticize Kevin that he does not go far enough in killing off characters. I think he's too afraid of killing off someone's favorite, which I understand, but I think that he needs to take a page out of George Martin and be willing to kill whoever needs to be killed. That aside, there are some cool deaths and some cool action scenes, and I will say this is the best climax we've gotten, and it really is an excellent climax to the series thus far. There are still, as I mentioned, 2 more books in the series, so I still think it can go even bigger and better, and I hope it does. But this really does give us the epic Hydrogue conflict that we've been waiting for in the series. Also, what makes this book also interesting is you get some other interesting developments in the... You know that there are people who have been subjugated, humans that have been subjugated in the Eldarin Empire. That's partially where the Nira and Osira plot happens. We get a significant movement forward in that plot. Likewise, we also get a new conflict for the next book that I thought was really interesting, and I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like, I was legitimately surprised. I'm really not surprised by a lot of the developments in the first 4 books, but the epilogue, essentially, it's not actually an epilogue, but the epilogue of this book actually surprised me. I was like, okay, I see what you're going there. So, overall, I just really loved this book. I still think that Kevin Anderson's weakest writing is his dialogue. I think that he has a hard time making characters feel normal and feel less stunted. His books read more like a historical accounting and less like a dramatic play. Like if Aaron Sorkin could come in and clean up the dialogue to make the dialogue more lived in, but keep Kevin's story, keep his epicness, keep his plot, keep his overall scope, I think that this could have been one of the most amazing series in history. But still, this is the best book in the series. Continues to get better and better. If the last books get better and better, man, will this be a great series. But I give this one a 9 out of 10. Best in the series thus far. Really an excellent book, and I'm so happy that it's moving forward. I will take this opportunity to point out that this is a weak cover. I think this is a terrible cover, as I've thought for every single one of the copies that I have. I'm happy to have these copies because they're signed by Mr. Anderson. I was one of the few people to get this collection when he had it a few months ago. But the original cover, which I'll show here, is a much better cover and really is visually stunning and grabs you and makes you feel, wow, that's incredible. I did not feel that way with this cover, so I am very disappointed, and I hope that Orbit changes that in reprintings. But that is my review of the book of Fire and Night. If you've been reading this series along with me, what did you think of it? If you are interested in reading this series, let me know your comments down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.